Hey, welcome everyone. This is going to be episode 6 of our resume review. I want to thank you all for joining us today. We're here with Emily, who is sharing their screen as they're going to go over the resume you see before her and all of us. If you would like your own resume to be reviewed, as always, you can email it to us. That information is in the announcements channel. You can ask us for the email. You can send it to us directly. You can post an anonymous version of it here in the resume review channel. There's plenty of ways to share it with us. And, we'll get a one-on-one session with you, or we'll do a live session sometime. I want to, just thank you all for participating, as you always do. If you have any questions or any comments, you're welcome to put them in the chat. You're welcome to unmute yourself and speak up. With that, I think we're ready to get started.
All right. I want to do a little disclaimer. I usually say at the beginning of every Resumania session, I do edit towards a Canadian and U.S. standard. If you're from another country, your resume standards might be slightly different. But I think that hopefully everybody can learn, a little bit from what we're doing here. And so today I just kind of figured we'd take a look at this resume. I just pulled it from the engineering resume subreddit. And like usual, I want to make this more of a discussion rather than a lecture. So I'll probably be asking questions and stuff like that. So feel free to speak up and let us know what you think. And then we can kind of work out together what we think the best way to approach this resume is. So with that, I usually like to say what are first impressions for this resume. If you just, take a look at it for a few seconds, what kind of comes to mind right away? Do we have anybody who wants to speak up? Okay, I can go first. So right away, I notice the right-hand margin is a lot smaller than the left-hand margin, especially for the bullets that end manufacturing and feasibility. I noticed that there's some gray font and some black font. I don't know if that's translating very well on my screen, but that's kind of true. There's that big black bar that's emphasizing place, which is in a sans serif font at the very top. And then the bottom margin is really, really tiny. It's almost to the edge of the page. So that's kind of what I get. I think it's broken up into education, experience, project, skilled, professional organizations. I noticed that they have spaces between their projects and skills, I think, and then skills and professional organizations, but they do not have spaces between education and experience or experience and projects. I think their contact information, but let's start at the top. I don't really understand why they're emphasizing their place that they're located so much, unless maybe they're really wanting to stay there. But for me, it takes up a lot of room just for their location of where they are. Usually I see the cell, email, LinkedIn, and place kind of all in the same line. So that was kind of something that I have a kind of question mark about. What do you guys think about that?
I've heard that some people actually don't think you should put your location at all on a resume.
Okay.
Generally speaking, it really doesn't, it can only hurt you, basically. What is the advantage of having your address on the resume, right? Because even if you wanted to stay in the same location, you can just say that after the fact.
Okay, I see that.
Wait, real quick, would you mind zooming in and out a little bit? It's a bit blurry.
Sorry about
No
that.
problem. I will say, I think place can help you if you are already local. It could be a benefit because that tells them that they don't have to worry about negotiating relocation or anything like that. But generally speaking, I personally have started leaving off location.
I know that you, Chase, in particular, have had an experience where They thought you were commuting like a couple states over, right? You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, not much to it. I had a phone interview for a position that was, like you said, a few states over. Would have been maybe like a 12 to 24-hour drive if I were to do that. I thought I had made it clear that it was my senior year in college. I was graduating soon and I was looking to relocate. Nonetheless, I was asked 2 or 3 times throughout the phone interview, do you plan on commuting from, I think it was Alabama to New Mexico every day? So, no. And, at the time, being a senior in college, again, planning on relocating, I really didn't have a good reason for having my apartment address on there. No one was going to send me anything. It didn't matter.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I think that if you are willing to relocate, I don't think having your location really matters. That said, if you're very specifically restricted to a certain geographical area, like say you have like a family and a child and you like, need to find somewhere like within commuting distance, then maybe that's like, gonna drive your search. So maybe putting place up there, knowing that you are local to everything you're applying to, might help a little bit. But I think Grayson does have a good point that even if you do include it, you can always like say it later. I don't think it's like, I guess the company not having to worry about relocation is like a slight positive, but I don't think that's something that's going to maybe for tiny companies that like maybe don't have a lot of money to like pay for relocation, maybe that would matter. But I guess maybe bigger companies it wouldn't really, make or break you. But that's kind of my take on that, at least. What do you think about the like header formatting here? Anybody? That was an open question. I'm gonna have to start calling on people.
Yes. What exactly do you mean by header formatting? Because
So
it does
the
seem like there's a
header,
lot of margin up there.
yeah. So the header I think of as the name and the contact information. That kind of is what I think of as the header. Margins is, I guess, the separate thing of being like the white space on the top and the bottom and the left and the right. So, what do you think about this like name, big black box, sell, email, LinkedIn? I know a lot of people don't like LinkedIn. Some people do. I've heard some people are saying don't put your cell phone on, which I don't know if I agree with, but what do you guys think about this, header section?
Um, it's I try to be parsimonious when I can, and I feel like the big box is just it's all what's the word? I mean, it's unnecessary, I guess.
Okay. That's definitely fair. Anybody else?
I do kind of like it. Like you were saying earlier, I don't think place and all the other contact information should be broken up. That could probably all fit or mostly fit on one line if you take out the place or the LinkedIn. But if all the relevant information were in that black bar, I think that would look kind of nice.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay. I think that I don't know, maybe I'm in general, I don't love the use of black. It definitely catches your eye though. I would like the left and right ends of the box to be as wide as the margin of the text below it. That's kind of just nitpicky and sort of stylistic / formatting. But yeah, and I don't love the sans serif font. I'm personally against mixing sans serif and serif fonts because I think it looks a little strange. But I think if they could keep like the black box, I wouldn't mind that around name and other contact information. Um, but maybe not the filled in black bit, in my personal opinion. But I think that kind of small stuff maybe not doesn't matter so much as efficient use of space. And I think that having that cell, email, and LinkedIn on a separate line kind of, it takes a line, an extra lineup. You know what I mean? That they could use to at the bottom of the resume, because it's like plan it very well in my mind. That's kind of how I read it.
It does strike me as writing a long sentence on a piece of paper and running out of space at the end.
Yeah, what is it? John Mulaney's like "Happy Birthday" skit. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but yeah, it does seem like they maybe realize that, oh crap, I need to fit this all on one page. Okay, let's just make that bottom margin really tiny, instead of maybe formatting it so that the text is like in the middle of the page, which is personally what I like the best. It seems a little bottom heavy this way, because we got that big chunk of text at the bottom. All right.
Right.
Anybody else have formatting kind of notes, or should we dive into the education section?
Frost had mentioned that it takes up too much space, the title region.
The name title.
I bet if they moved the margin up, they could give way more space to that relevant text.
Yeah, I think if they moved that this here, let me draw on here. I think if they moved this margin here to be smaller, and then also took these guys and threw it in here, then they would be able to center the text more on the page, and maybe bump up the margin at the bottom of the page a little bit. So I'm going to say, so I think that they could make it look a little bit more balanced if they did that. And thank you for reading out from comments, because I am not looking at text comments today. All right, let's jump into the education section.
I want to point out the date.
The date that's not aligned with everything else?
Yeah, well, there's the one date, and then also at the bottom where it has present at the end. It seems to me like they're all left aligned, and they just, I don't know, maybe press tab a bunch of times.
Yeah, there's like slightly not aligned. You're saying there's like an extra space here? Yeah, I hear you.
It mostly works because they keep with a typical format of 2-digit month, period, 4-digit year. It happens to work out for most of it. But when you're really looking at it, if you care about that sort of thing, it stands out as they don't know how to properly use the function that they're trying to replicate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally hear you.
Emily?
Yeah?
Are you able to post a photo of this in the meeting room chat?
Is it not working anymore?
No, it's just that for my screen the quality is shifting and it's sideways,
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me do that really quick.
If not.
It actually doesn't take very long. What chat are we in? Large meeting room? All right. See? Done. Beautiful. All right. You got it?
Thank you.
No worries. So ideally I would want, as I was saying earlier, that I would want every text on the right hand side to line up together. So like these guys that are like a little bit a little bit past the date margin, kind of, ideally I would like everything to line up pretty. If that means moving the dates all the way to the right to like here, then that's okay too. But in my personal opinion, I think that everything looks a little bit nicer when it's all lined up to the same point, basically. which I think also is what Chase was getting at. All right. Let's look at school, anticipated graduation, May 2020 to May 2022. Oh my goodness. GPA 3.2. I would also like that to be aligned, ideally. Or doing like a comma GPA and then having the graduation on this line. But either really is fine, I think. So I'm just going to keep that. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty thing. All right, I do want to note that there should be a blank space between the education and experience sections to keep consistent with the other sections. It helps to break it up a little bit, and a little bit more of the same. Okay. All right, so let's look at these bullet points. They are a mechanical engineer. It looks like they've done a lot of academic research, I guess, kind of. So the first position they've done is an internship at this research lab. So they conducted a literature review of existing processes for amorphous metal alloys. That's pretty interesting. Okay, so they read some stuff and they presented their findings to a design team. I think this sounds fine to me. They have what they did. They had like their result, like what they did afterwards. Like they presented their results. They don't say what they actually found. But I don't know if that's like proprietary or whatever. So sometimes they have to be, I guess, a little ambiguous about it. So the second bullet point says created heat transfer simulations. And they designed critical components like drum size, drum material, and to ensure a critical cooling rate of 400 degrees Celsius per second. Melt spinning process. Does anybody know what a melt spinning process is? I'm guessing they heat it up while it's spinning. Yeah, I'm guessing they heat this metal up while it's spinning in a drum.
Well, is it like centrifugal casting? Is that what they're intending to say?
I have no idea what they're intending to say.
A typical melt spinning process involves casting molten metal by jetting it onto a rotating wheel or drum, which is cooled internally, usually by water or liquid nitrogen, courtesy of Google.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It sounds like centrifugal casting, which may be slightly different.
Okay.
It is very similar to, I guess, the layman's way to go with it would be how to make a cotton candy.
A what?
A cotton candy.
Cotton candy. Oh, I understand. Okay. I'm a layman. I understand that. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, you would have your casting molds on the outside edge of a drum, and then you would dump in the liquid stuff, and then the centrifugal force will help it permeate into the mold that you're trying to cast. At least that's the application that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
But anyway, I have other stuff I need to be doing. That was my 2 cents. I'll
Thank
see you
you,
guys next
Jade.
week.
Thank you, Jay, for your input. So that makes sense to me. That the critical those components and those like variables, the drum size and the material, are would obviously affect their process and how it's works.
I think that if anything to change here, because to a certain extent, since they aren't here, we kind of just have to take them at their word that this is being described correctly. But instead of saying to ensure a critical cooling rate, would it be better to say like to meet some design specification or constraint instead? because whoever's reading it doesn't really care about a specific detail like that, right? But they would care that someone's capable of understanding constraints of design and stuff, right?
You could actually, that could actually be a requirement. You know what I mean? Like that might be one of the design requirements that they're aiming for. So basically, they get to play with the drum size and the material in order to reach that cooling rate of 400 degrees C per second. I agree that maybe the fact that it's at 400 degrees C per second is the critical number. That might not be super relevant as a layman who understood the cotton candy reference. 400 degrees C, I don't really understand why that's so critical. However, it does add a quantitative number to the whole like kind of bullet point. So while it's not while it might be a little bit too specific for the average person to understand or realize why that's important, it does add a little bit of like quantitativeness, if that's probably not a word, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I do see that they have an awkward line kind of between these two bullet points that's not in the 1 and 2 bullet point, so it's kind of like a weird spacing issue here, so I'm going to be like spacing here.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. And then this last bullet point is kind of like, I guess, more of a wrap up of what they did. That's not really technical. So delivered weekly presentations and reports on the progress, which is fine, especially if you need extra bullet points. But to me, this kind of reads as like, I did this literature review, I did this heat transfer simulation, and then I told people about it, which is good and important. But it's not as technical as the other 2 bullet points. So I think it's good that they include it as the last bullet point, because I think it's the least relevant, I guess, to their like. I'm assuming they're going for like a technical position. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about that. Thoughts on this overall position before we move on to the next one? I think it's pretty cool, actually. Manufacturing.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. A couple things, because and this might describe just first thing, they got to change that subheader from experience to internships, because each little subheader, it seems to just describe his like if every single section of experience is going to be just simply an internship, you might as well save the trouble of using that extra space of redundancy and just put an overall header that just calls it internship.
That's interesting. That's an
So
interesting.
just get rid of those 3 lines that just repeats itself, internships. I do know like there's a little how do you say slash like spacing that just for the first 2 position that just says place. I don't know what the hell is that for. Get rid of
That's
that,
going
in my
to say,
opinion.
that place is going to say probably the city and state in which that lab and that like company was located.
Okay. Well, we just put that right next to the subheader, like just to say, one to maintain parsimony, but also to say space. Why? And sorry,
Yeah.
and okay. Second of all, a lot of these bullet points needs to be shortened. It feels like a lot of, I think I mentioned this in the comments, but a lot of this could just simply be said in the internship. Yeah, this is all interesting, but unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, I have a great suspicion that there is any likelihood that that any employer is going to look through all of these technical details before he even gets to sit down and talk to you. For
Okay.
example, the first line, I would just stop right up. No, say like the second bullet point. I would stop right up to the point where they mention the simulation software. They'll like to know what the type of software you have experience on, but but that's about it. Like at least when it comes down to the resume, everything else seems like it could just simply be said in an interview.
Okay. Who's talking? I'm sorry, I can't see.
All right, it's Fees User.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, welcome. Number one. I don't think I've seen you here before, but I'm happy that you found us. I don't know if I 100% agree with you, and that's okay. I like to see what people actually did. And I think that showing what you've done is a large part of kind of convincing the person that you deserve an interview. While yes, you can say a lot of these details at an interview, you do have to get the interview first. And I think the best way to do that, in my opinion, is to basically put those details in here. I think that 2-line bullet points are okay. I think 3-line bullet points are not usually. 1-line bullet points are probably preferred. But I would prefer a more specific bullet point over an overly general bullet point any day of the week, in my mind. So I personally like to see the details. I like that they're telling us what they did and giving us a good picture of like, not just like, hey, I created heat transfer simulations in ANSYS, period. But they're actually kind of communicating what variables they're looking at and what their kind of goal was for the process. Because that just paints a clear picture in my mind of like what exactly they're doing and why. But I do understand that I don't think, let me just say, I don't think that every interviewer or, resume reviewer will take time to read every single one of these bullet points. But I do think that the stronger they are and the more detail they include, the more likely the person is to get a callback or an internship. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm communicating that quite as succinctly as I'd like to.
I mean, I guess, but this looks a little much. And I say that because you've been mentioning as to how the sheer amount of text kind of interferes with the formatting. That's my main worry.
Okay, so let's meet in the middle then. Let me look at what I can take out. I think they could take out the multi-physics
like, for
line.
example, that specific bullet point, like about critical cooling rate, like we're kind of iffy on that. I would take that out, for example.
I would actually take the multi-physics
Wait, can you hear me?
engineering simulation out. Yeah, I can hear you. Because I think that ANSYS is kind of a very common tool in mechanical engineering, and people know what it can do. And so I think adding what it does doesn't help. But I do think it does help to know what variables, again, they're looking at and what their goal is, like what they're trying to accomplish by doing these heat transfer simulations. Like, why are they doing them? To reach this critical cooling rate. I have said this before in some previous resume reviews, but I do like the STAR method and the Google XYZ method to creating bullet points. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. And Google XYZ stands for did X via Y, or as measured by Y, resulting in Z. So those two basically methods of resume bullet point writing are to draw out the details from your projects. I think if the person just said created heat transfer simulations using ANSYS, I would be like, why? Or, like, why did you do that? Like, what was the purpose of it? Sort of. I kind of would want more detail from that. But let's continue. You said that most of the bullet points could be cut down. So let's see what other ones we've got going on. I think that the weekly presentations could probably just be one line. Because that's not all too important to like a technical position. I mean, yes, it is important because every job does presentations, but it's not as difficult, I think, or as impressive. So I'm gonna say cut this to one line. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even address the internship thing. I think that's a really clever way to save space. I usually do see people. So what they're doing here is they're listing where they were, interning at, and then they list their position title, and then they list the place at which this company or lab or whatever was located. I think that is more relevant, I guess, once you get more experience and you have different kind of position titles. But I do agree that if they did put internships instead of experience at the top, they would be able to kind of delete that whole line and save them 3 lines, I guess, there. So I think that is a clever way. I definitely agree with you there. However, some people do mix. Basically, they do mix projects and experience, or like they consider some projects to be like additional academic experience or something like that. So that wouldn't work in necessarily every single case, but I do think it works here. And that it would save them some space. But let's continue on and see if they can cut down other stuff. And in terms of like bullet points. Any last comments on that? All right, let me keep going then. All right, advanced mentors work on semi-solid redox flow batteries for implementation of larger scale solar energy storage. So the thing about that bullet point is tripping me up is the advanced mentors work. Because I don't really know what that means. I don't know what they contributed. And I think they probably go on in the next bullet point to say what exactly they contributed. But from that line alone, I don't really love it. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's too general, or do you think it's okay?
I would rather not see it at all. It really doesn't tell you anything, like you said.
I think they're probably trying to give like a higher level, like what we were doing in general, sort of umbrella. And then I guess going more into detail with the second bullet point of like what they did in SolidWorks. But the advanced mentors work is just kind of throwing me for a loop a little bit. Implementation.
I do think that's kind of awkward phrasing, and
Yeah.
it would just look a lot better too, like in terms of evaluating a candidate, if you just said I worked on it. I mean, in an interview, sure, share the credit, mention that you didn't start the research, but you did the work supposedly. So
Well,
say I did it.
that's true. However, even if they said I worked on, that still doesn't give me a kind of what they specifically contributed to the project. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, assisted mentor with blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? They don't really say like what they did until that second bullet point.
Yeah, I think it's just 2 separate critiques here.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at the second one and see what they actually did. Okay, they designed the prototype battery test cells in SolidWorks, not on SolidWorks. Boop. And manufactured components with industrial manufacturing equipment. Industrial manufacturing equipment. That kind of made me giggle. Such as mill, lathe, and water jet. I
So
don't.
we can get rid of that, no?
Well, it's good that they drop the SolidWorks. Like, hey, I've used SolidWorks, and this is how I used it.
No, that's fine, but the part that you giggled.
Yeah. Yeah. Industrial manufacturing equipment. That kind of that's just a little
That is
silly.
good.
Um, and again, the cut costs is a little questionable. Like, as opposed to what? Like, what were you doing before? You know what I mean? Were you like, hand sawing like something, and then just the man hours like totaled up to $1,000 or what? But I would just cut this with industrial method. I probably just say using, and then this cut costs is just a question mark for me. I don't see the connection between, hey, I used these tools and therefore I cut the cost by $1,000. Like there's kind of a disconnect for me there. Do you guys see it too?
The thing that gets me is that
Maybe
they
it's
say
like
they
the
designed a
sum of
prototype.
the components if you bought them commercially. Sorry to interrupt you, Chase.
Oh, so you're saying like purchase price versus in-house manufactured price?
Yeah.
That's valid, but they aren't very clear about that. If that's actually what happened, then they should say that.
I think this is two separate bullet points masquerading as one.
You think the
Isn't it?
design and manufactured are two separate things?
Well, it's like design, prototype, battery test cells in SolidWorks, okay, and then I machined a bunch of fixtures with mill, lathe, and water jet, right? That's kind of how I look at it.
My
You're
question
gonna-
is how big does like this how big is this battery cell?
Yeah, like
W-
I don't know how
What
you would
made it cost like
manufacture a
an
battery cell with
additional
a mill.
$1,000 more?
Yeah. I mean, batteries in general are pretty expensive, but I don't understand how you would manufacture a battery with like a mill, because like batteries have, it's mostly chemical components, right?
That's why I think it's completely separate, right? I don't think when I read that I thought he was, or whoever wrote this was just saying like, exactly two separate things. Design, prototype, battery test cells. So that's one thing I did, and I manufactured quote unquote components.
Yeah, so we want more
It's like
specifics on the components. Like, are they fixtures? Are they jigs? Are they the actual batteries themselves? Probably not.
Uh,
I'll write that. What components are you manufacturing?
Can you hear me?
And yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Just to jump in. So in battery manufacturing, this line will depend greatly on what they mean by cut cost. Cut cost compared to what? If he is talking about actually getting this manufactured at a battery manufacturing place, then including industrial manufacturing devices is crucial because those are not actually used to make batteries. And so
Yeah,
there's been a lot of methods by labs to actually see how they can actually use these kind of machines, so they can do this in house. So compared to what is a big thing here. So removing industrial manufacturing equipment it depends on what they mean by cut cost. So that
Yeah.
should be defined by that first.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just thought describing mill, lathe, and water jet as industrial manufacturing equipment seemed a little silly to me. That's kind of why I giggled at the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's pretty clear. All right, so let's try the second bullet point or the third bullet point. Tested and collected data with a potentiostat to track battery capacities and degradation rate. So I kind of want to know why they were doing that. To give me a clearer picture. Were they what were they interested in? Were they trying to compare their prototype batteries to market batteries? Maybe, I don't know. I think that would be kind of an interesting sort of test, with useful data. You know, how well their batteries actually performed if they, you know, made prototype ones.
And depending on if this person wants to go into the battery field, track battery capacity and degradation rate. This is very heavy loaded. There's hundreds of different ways to do this. And there's many different names for the test you can do for this kind of sort of thing. And so just name dropping maybe something like EIS or something, whatever they used, will help a lot with the hiring managers of a battery company to see what kind of skills they have. Because if it's just basically calculating capacity, then that's something that anybody can do. If it's actually like doing particular battery testing, such as spectroscopy or impedance measurements, those are very particular skills that not a lot of people have. So actually mentioning that ahead of time is crucial.
Okay, so we're saying we want more information about this bullet point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
cool.
and it also to me looks like they may have done some type of statistical analysis on it, which to me would be way more important than the actual testing, right? Like, are they doing SPC on it?
I doubt it, because they probably would have listed that under skills in my mind. But
This is a very minor sort of thing, but saying tested and collected data is not the correct phrasing, is it?
well,
We conducted tests and separately collected data, right? Because the way it's written implies you tested data.
yeah, that's true. I assume that I think you're right, but I think I automatically read it and corrected it in my mind, if that makes sense. Like, I read it as tested battery and collected data with, you know, potentiostat. You know what I mean? But that's
definitely a very trivial detail.
tested. Like, what are you testing? You don't actually say the noun. Tester batteries and collected data. All right. And then again, I hate the word optimized. That's maybe just a me thing, but optimized can mean so many different things, especially with trade-offs. And so they optimized the cathode, anode, and electrolyte. That doesn't really mean anything to me. Do you guys agree with that, or am I just kind of being silly?
My input
Would you?
was going to be. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'll go after.
Okay. My input was basically going to be mention the methods that you used to make those improvements. So basically, completely agreed.
So like
the one when you reviewed my resume, I had an optimization thing that I mentioned, but it ended up like we researched, process parameters would be an example.
Yeah, I know. I'm particular about that specific word. It's probably just me, so don't worry about it too much.
Correct me if any of these interpretations are kind of off-putting, but this could simply mean increasing the longevity of the cathode and anode rods, increasing the concentration of the acidity of increasing the acidity or increasing the ion concentration to increase the electric potential. I mean, I mean that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm more or less getting from this word. But I figure in a resume, you don't want to be interpreting things. You just
You want to be
well.
clear.
That's a good phrase.
You don't want to be and if you have to, well, you just got to make sure the interpretation's obvious, right? Don't turn this thing into a Bible.
Because that actually to improve something by 15 or 25, for 15% in capacity and 25% in battery life, that's a decent chunk. You know what I mean? I think batteries in general have been studied a lot. I don't know if they started with a really crappy battery. And then it wasn't that big of a deal to improve it by that much. But again, I like to see how they necessarily made these improvements, like you were saying. and ideally tie it back to the testing of the prototype, and kind of how those test results were used to improve the capacity and the battery life.
Or
Does
maybe
that
it's actually they actually put that bullet point because maybe that's what they actually did. They just they probably just went through all they actually went through a general optimization of a battery, and maybe like mentioning the details might be out of the scope of the resume. Just maybe.
Well, to be fair, they are
May-
only going to the second line by 2 words. So there's a lot of space if they want to use 2 lines for that actual bullet point to add some more information to help us understand what they're trying to say. So I think that that
Because
will help.
do you think there'd be space to mention like increase of anode size and electrolyte concentration and acidity and potentially more stuff that I'm unaware of?
Well, it
To
depends
simply
how
mention that's how I got to 15% improvement.
how many variables they were playing with, I think.
Because I have a feeling he might use all of the above. That's probably why either could just be that or just a genuine mistake.
No, I think that if that's true, then they'll take our comment of how and be like, oh, well, I did a lot of things and I can't fit. But I
But in that
think,
case, I would probably sorry for interrupting, but like I would probably just put a general optimization
yeah,
to instead of just optimized.
yeah.
Instead of like, an adjective could be helpful. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree what you're saying. The problem with resume reviews when the person isn't here is we can't ask them. And that's always helpful to see where they're coming from and their perspective and what they're trying to say. But because they're not here, we kind of just have to guess. So I think if they either did a very general optimization, then that really wouldn't affect this bullet point that much. They probably would just add like general at the beginning and then keep everything else the same. But if they were specifically looking at certain variables, like for each the cathode, the anode, and electrolyte, then I think that can be more clarified, if that makes sense.
It definitely does. My original comment about that bullet point was a question about whether or not they'd change the manufacturing method, etc. So you guys definitely hit on that. But what do you think about putting that bullet point first as opposed to the ones they have up top? I mean, that just seems like much more of a important bullet point than the other 3, in my opinion.
So I think what they're trying to do is the first bullet point is trying to be a general overview. The second bullet point, the third bullet point, and the fourth bullet point kind of go in chronological order of what they did. Like first they designed the prototype, then they tested the prototype, and then they optimized the prototype to make it better. So I think that's why they used that particular order. I do think they're starting out with a super weak bullet point because it's just too general. Honestly, I'm just gonna write next to it like combine with another bullet point maybe.
I like how they were trying to be quantitative about it, but at the same time, that bullet point that has $1,000 on it, I mean, not to be rude, but that's kind of almost trivial compared to, increasing battery efficiency that much, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. Unless they started with a really terrible battery. And then it's like not as impressive. But still.
Even if they did, though, right? Even if they did, independently increasing the efficiency that much is pretty good.
Yeah. I hear you. That's true.
One quick nitpick. They really need to specify the kind of battery chemistry and battery type they were working with. Because depending on that 15% and whatever it was, can either raise eyebrows because it's far-fetched or it's pretty impressive. So that part's really important.
I am not a very knowledgeable person about batteries and different battery types. So I am going to believe you on that one.
The
All right.
only one that I'm so far aware of, or maybe two, is
There's
there's
nice-
lithium ion. That's the most popular one, and
There-
probably
not
an
cadmium.
underdeveloped. No. What were you gonna say? Because all I mentioned was lithium ion. But yeah, that's probably the
lithium ion and nickel cadmium is the older, kind of more. That's like what your 9-volt is. You know, when you buy like double A's and stuff like that, that's nickel cadmium, I believe. But the lithium ions are like the ones in like Teslas. Like I think they're higher capacity, higher battery life.
Yeah, one of my buddies is doing his PhD on sulfur batteries.
Sulfur, weird.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear more about that. That would be pretty cool. You should tell him to do a resume or not a resume talk, but an engineering and life talk.
But I presume,
yeah.
nonetheless, they're all. Sorry, go, Calvin. Go, Calvin.
I was just agreeing.
Oh, okay. Well, but nonetheless, they're all. I was kind of more referring to the methodology because at the end of the day, they're all electric potential batteries. So they electrovoltaic batteries.
That's what I'm assuming. Right.
Right. So I'm not sure if sways you're referring to just simply a different like way to induce potential without resorting to electric potential. Is that what you're referring to? Like that goes different types of batteries. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to.
So did you say
never mind.
semi-solid redox flow? I personally don't know what semi-solid redox flow means, but does that give us a better idea of what type?
I feel like that one does not resort to a electrolytic medium, acidic medium rather. I think that's what they're referring to, and rather they're using a like I guess a semiconductor in between.
Case Google go.
Yeah, whatever. I don't want to presume anymore. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'll be careful with Google though. I mean, I like my classes. I'll wait for that. Anyway, let's continue.
Okay, I think the semi-solid redox flow. I think if I Googled that, then that would give me a better idea of what type of battery test cells they're using. But yeah, so I might actually erase that because I think that might be helpful for us.
Do you have any opinion on whether or not you should include stuff like that, depending on where you're applying? You know, like if it's a battery place, they might know what that means. But if not, maybe leave it out.
I have a lot of opinions. I think this helps us paint a little better picture. I do think if the person reading it doesn't know what it means, they would just gloss over it. However, if, again, you were applying to a battery manufacturer or something similar, then that would help to paint the picture a little bit better, especially if they, know what that is, if it's like some, super new technology that's like really cool and hasn't really been implemented a lot. Like, yeah, why not? But I think probably the layman, like mechanical engineering job, and the people who are interviewing you for like a mechanical design job that's not for batteries, they probably wouldn't know what that means. But it's not hurting. I don't think it would hurt you. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not going to 2 lines with that specific phrase, although I do want them to kind of combine that first bullet point with the others. But do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, definitely. It's worth the space because there's space there.
Exactly. If you were really tight on space and cutting out that specific phrase would give you a line, then yeah, maybe take it out and use that line for something else that's maybe more relevant. But I think right here it's fine. All right, cool. Again, the weird gray black font. I don't really get it. Okay, Penn State. Proton exchange mechanism. Oh God. Do we have like somebody who knows these things here? Or do we just have Chase and Google? Do you guys know batteries?
I don't.
Okay, so unfortunately, I probably and also Sways. Maybe Sways would explain better, but my take on this is that this refers to the. Wait, why did? Okay, I can't seem to understand why there's proton exchange, but I guess the idea is uh the I mean there's current going through like since you have a potential, there's current going through. What is describing here is the actual mechanism as to how that photon is exchanging between the anode or like from the anode, yeah,
However, it is a
from the
separate.
anode to the electrolyte, more or
Okay.
less.
So it is a
Or
separate like internship from the previous internship. This seems to be more research, I guess, based. This Penn
this is
State one.
definitely research. This is where you will probably look. This has more I say physical implications rather. Or like
Okay.
Wouldn't that be
quantum physical
undergrad
implications of it.
research and not really an internship
I mean,
if
if
it's
they
with the
got,
university?
so I don't know. I think it kind of depends. I think that's a good question to ask them. Like, hey, is this actually an internship or is this like, undergrad research?
Yeah, this
Like-
looks like research.
I mean, perhaps
Because
maybe perhaps they were an undergrad research assistant or something. I don't know. That's kind of pushing it. Or maybe they were an intern at this specific lab that was at their college.
Yeah, I think that could come across as being a little misleading because I mean I don't know too much beyond specifically like chemi focused jobs, I guess, but
Okay.
typically industry internships are weighted much more heavily than undergrad research unless you're doing specifically an R&D application.
I agree with that. I
oh,
agree.
really?
Yeah, I do agree with that. Because the academia world is sort of separate from like
From the industry.
professional, the industry, the professional world. Unless you're in that specific R&D, more, researchy sort of area. But I mean, if this person wants to like do R&D for batteries, like as a job, then I think this is strong. I actually probably would order one of these. I would probably put the like metal alloy spinning thing. I would probably put that one last if they actually wanted to do batteries for like their job. Obviously these two are more battery focused, but it is interesting that they're looking at the same batteries for their Penn State internship and then also this sustainable technologies. I wonder that like, maybe their professor has a side gig as like owning a company that makes batteries or something on the side. I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, they do that a lot with the national labs here. There'll be internships that you also do work for the internship at the university. Maybe it's something like that.
Yeah, maybe that might be true. All right, let's look at this a little bit more. No, go away. A little bit more in detail. As a mechanical engineer, I have no idea what this like means at all. Maybe battery people would know more about this. And if they're looking for a battery job, then that would make sense. But I think, in my opinion, I don't know what any of this means. I probably have to Google a lot of this, like Nafion membrane. I don't know what that means. All right.
I
I
feel
would
like
say-
regardless of. Sorry, go ahead.
So my suspicion is, I think what they're just simply trying to go through. This looks a lot like research. I mean, I would be surprised if they didn't involve any kind of like dimer or like bass calculation here. But the idea here is like you have an acidic environment and you want to know how is this proton, in this case, this hydrogen, exchanging towards this Nafion membrane and inducing a cation, like a charge exchange.
Okay.
And you want to understand the mechanism itself to have, I guess, have a better idea of like the ideal thermodynamics state. That's probably what's implied here. and so you're oxidizing. I figure what's going on is you're oxidizing this membrane for use in later redox. So for this to be a reducing agent. I am speculating right now, but the word mechanisms brings me back to VAS and dimer calculations more or less.
Okay.
So yeah, I can see why you guys are suspicious and that this might actually be research because I am kind of working on this stuff, kind of.
Stuff. Okay.
I feel like if this was me, I would have tried to stay away from such specific and technical terms and more spinned it towards, I have this experience in design of experiments or something like that.
I hear you. However, I do wonder that was this person just actually carrying these things out, or were they actually designing the experiment?
Yeah.
You
may be
know,
right.
interns usually are just kind of told what to do and say go do it. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of a special case if an intern gets to actually like design shit. But that's just my personal experience. There are definitely what do I say? Exceptions. There are definitely exceptions to that rule. So I'm not gonna write that down to like be like, hey, did you design this experiment? Because I personally doubt they did. However, if you guys do think that they probably did, then I can write it down. But that's just kind of my personal what I'm kind of gathering here.
I think what I was trying to get at is just trying to overall spin these bullet points into stuff that's more applicable to everything.
Yeah, that comes down to what they're like, what job they're trying to get. You know what I mean? If they're trying to get like a battery R&D design job, like this is great. This level of detail is awesome. They are speaking the same language, I think, as maybe a recruiter in that sort of specific niche area. However, I think if they're using this for, like you were saying, for a general design job, like there isn't much design work really. There isn't really any design work in this specific internship. There was a little bit of design work in the sustainable technologies with the prototypes, and a little bit of design, or a little bit of analysis in the research lab. But in general, there isn't very much design or analysis in this REU intern position. Okay.
So I can see why. So I can see. So it's very likely that he probably hasn't designed this. However, I want to just to put things a little bit perspective. A lot of these when you're carrying out these experiments or these instructions, I mean, you might. I mean, it's probably a good idea to probably have understand the same mentality as understand like the thought process behind the design of this experiment. Otherwise, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah,
I could see why he put this because he wants to emphasize that he has experience. He knows more than just one type of battery. He has an idea of fuel cells, for example. Like we've seen voltaic, like his experience. So we've seen it looks like in sustainable technologies, he obtained experience in voltaic cell batteries. In Penn State, this is where he obtains experience in fuel cells.
Penn State, that's a fuel cell, you're saying?
I'm saying when his internship in sustainable technologies, where he got experience with I don't know if it's lithium ion. Let's just speculate lithium ion. This is where he got experience with that. And in his Penn State internship or research, let's call it research, I feel like he put that there to emphasize that he also has experience in fuel cell.
So that's a fuel cell, the vanadium redox battery?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then the semi-solid redox flow batteries are not fuel cell batteries.
Don't think so because I see cathode and anode and electrolyte. That sounds a lot like a regular electrovoltaic battery. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
When I personally read these two, they seem very similar, but that's just because I think I don't know a lot about batteries. Okay, let's go on to the second bullet point. I suggested that they cut the first bullet point to one line because they just need to cut out one word, I think, in the sentence, and then they get a whole extra line. So the second bullet point says created and documented all standard operating procedures for preparing and testing the samples to make sure all of the results were accurate and reproducible. That's, I think. Conducted testing of samples with, I don't know what a differential mobility
I
analyzer.
feel the grammar is a little off. It should have said to ensure reproducibility and accuracy.
I think
Rather
it's
than
fine.
to make certain all results are. Rather, I replace that section of the clause to ensure reproducibility and accuracy. Because that section that sounds like a runoff.
I think
a
that
little nitpick. Sorry. Say again.
Yeah, I think that cuts out a few words. I don't think it cuts it to one line. Ability. Is that what you're trying to say? To cut out those words and add in the ensure accuracy and reproducibility?
It ensures better parsimony within the.
Is ensure with an I?
No, sorry. Rather to ensure reproducibility and accuracy.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Just put that replace. Yeah. Just put that replace.
Oh, can you not see?
Oh wait. Oh, sorry. I'm not
We
looking
can
at your
see it.
screen. Where are you?
Okay, it's all right. All right, so I think that we got that one.
To ensure accuracy and reproducibility and accuracy. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Conducted testing of samples using a something I don't know to obtain data on proton mobility and concentration to establish a standard by which all other membranes would be compared to. Oh, okay. How can we
That sounds like
fix
to
that?
standardize.
To standardize the membrane, like period. What are they standardizing?
I think
It sounds to me like they're describing a control. Is that
Yeah,
not what
I
they're
agree.
doing here?
I think they are,
That seems like a really poor way of describing a control.
but I'm trying to figure out what they're standardizing. Are
I
they
think just
standardizing
the
the
membrane
membrane?
itself and I believe the acid concentration. I believe that's what they're. That's what I can get from here.
My handwriting.
Standardized and acid
And-
concentration.
Let me see. Thanks. Oh no! Oh, disaster.
Yeah, so basically a membrane that has poor mobility and concentration would be akin to having a battery with, I guess, like a built-in resistor. Because the less mobility you have, the less electron flow you're going to have. And the stream just ended.
Oh no! Am I still? What's going on?
We need to understand the mechanism. I presume. Yeah.
Can we take a 5-minute break? I had a little bit too much to drink and I have to go to the bathroom really bad.
That sounds fine with me.
Thank you. Be right back.
That's not enough. That's not enough time to save on car insurance.
You can save 5% with that.
Fine.
This is a high income group. We need to pitch in to get her an iPad and Notability.
Hey guys, my name's Nick. I was just wondering, what's like, I don't know, I'm still in community college doing the prereqs for an EE transfer. I mean, is it useful for me to be here? Like, no, yes, no, I don't know. I haven't figured it out.
When are you going to transfer in as a junior?
In like a year, yeah.
But will you be a proper junior?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, for sure, because that's when you should try and get in a year so you'll have next summer for internships. You should try to get an internship next summer.
Cool. Tight. And have you guys have people found internships off the server?
I don't know about directly, but I think indirectly through making your resume not a steaming pile of crap. Yes.
Gotcha. Have you all graduated yet, or no? I'm just wondering.
All
I
right,
mean,
I'm
I
back.
see a lot of PEs and E's and
What I
stuff
miss?
like that. Nothing. Just
Oh crap!
college
I need
kids saying
screen.
hi.
Oh, hi, college kids. Hi, TBT. I
Hey.
can, I'm cool. I'm still cool.
Sure. I don't think so.
Wait, Nick. So you were satisfying prereqs, but you
Yes.
already have your associates.
Uh, no. I mean,
Working.
give it to you, but I'm like a class away from getting it or whatever. It doesn't really matter here. As long as you
Okay.
have all the classes done. But yeah.
Okay, this is less.
The answer to your question is yes. You should be developing your resume now so that you can get an internship between your sophomore and junior years, and especially between your junior and senior year.
Thanks, Calvin.
soon-
So I'm gonna sit here and watch.
the sooner the better.
Tight.
The sooner the better, but keep in
What-
but if it means compromising your sanity, well then,
Yeah, gotcha.
like,
Okay. Def not. By the way, are you guys all in is this mostly an American server? I feel like I run into a
Yes.
few Canadians. Okay, cool.
It's it's mostly American. I think we have a few international people,
Tight.
but
It's definitely very heavily North American.
Yes.
a lot of people from Houston for some reason. I'm not from
That-
Houston, but a lot of
makes
people from
sense.
Houston.
Because we made the server, Emily.
Thanks, Robot. Appreciate it.
All right, are we ready to go back? Did I have any questions while I was gone?
Nope. Shoot.
All right, let's go. So let's look at this suspension system for autonomous robot. All right, so this is going to be a ENES 100 project, as we would call it back in the day. Led a team of 5 students to create a suspension system for an autonomous vehicle for the Intelligent Ground Vehicle Competition. I have no idea what the Intelligent Ground Vehicle Competition is.
I got a question. Is this for credit or not? It doesn't really say, right?
It probably was. So in our school, at least, when you were a freshman, you had to take one project kind of class, team project, and it usually was an autonomous robot. So I'm guessing that's what this is.
So you're thinking this is like freshman design?
Yep, that's what I'm thinking it is. It looks like it. So they're graduating in 2022. This was in 2019 to 2020. So kind of seems about right to me. But again, I don't know what this Intelligent Ground Vehicle Competition is at all.
Why do you think this would be on here instead of their capstone project?
Because they're not a senior yet.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I'm guessing that this project or maybe something else that's weaker, depending on what we read further down.
wait, this person's not a senior yet.
May of 2022 is when they graduate. So
They're going into senior year now.
they're going into senior year now. Yeah. So this is a pretty good resume for not a senior, huh? Lots of internships. No.
I feel
Yeah,
bad for
for
roasting
sure.
him now, man. He's more accomplished than me.
No, but we want to roast them because the harder you roast them, the stronger the resume will be.
If you roast him too hard, he'll be overcooked.
No, he'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right.
And M and Peacemaker, are you guys senior engineers or something, or hiring? Do you guys hire people?
I have worked for about 5 years in the space
let's go.
industry. I'm a mechanical engineer.
Tight.
Can you hear
This
me?
man's trying to get a job.
I'm just wondering how.
I think
you know
that's
what I mean?
that's a lot of people.
Yeah, first time college student, guys. I don't know.
So I started doing this about 4 years ago for the Engineering Resumes subreddit. And then I kind of
Cool.
wanted to do a live edit. And Reddit isn't really conducive with live events.
Oh, for sure.
So I came over here, and this STEM network was kind enough to let me host these resume sessions.
Super cool. And I was just wondering because I pop in here every once in a while, and then
You're like, who
I
are
really
these
curious.
people?
Yeah, I'm like, what do I
That's
do here? Yeah.
What do I do here? So yeah, I have probably I just actually consolidated all the resumes that I've ever done, and I'm at like 185-ish now.
Dude, what the heck?
So I've seen a lot of resumes in my time.
Oh, okay. That you've looked over or that
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
submitted. Okay, okay.
No.
That makes sense. Okay.
Emily
But,
does the Lord's work.
I don't know about that.
Yes, sir.
But I do think that oh, gosh, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I think if I did this for a living, it wouldn't be fun. So I probably wouldn't do it for free. But I don't do this for a living. So I get to, do it in my spare time to help people out. Because when I got a job, it really sucked.
Let's go.
It really sucked looking for a job. And so I wanted to make it less suck for other people. And that's kind of why I do this in general.
And if you did it for a living, you couldn't drink concurrently.
Well, that's questionable. All right.
Wait, did it suck because they were judgmental about your resume, or was it?
No,
just
it
because of
sucked.
work?
It sucked because I didn't have a resource specifically geared towards engineering resumes. My university had a general resume workshop thing, but it wasn't technical at all. And
So they'll give you advice on how to format, but not necessarily
Yeah.
what would impress an employer at Procter and Gamble or something.
even the opposite though, because in my opinion, business majors, because they don't have they don't have technical skills, they kind of have to rely on standing out or marketability or networking. And while those things are important for us too, we need to basically how we've used our engineering skills that we've learned in school on projects or internships. So, taking what you learned in class and applying it to a real world situation. And I just didn't have really anybody to help, I guess, really, when I was graduating. So I wanted to become that person for other people. Okay, that's enough about me. Let's continue this, okay? We can do more question answer at the end once we get through this guy. What time is it? 7:20. Dear God. Okay. Delegated tasks and controlled schedule performance. I'm not really sure what that means. Managed communication between several teams. Okay, so this bullet point, the action, the cause does not match the effect. You know what I'm saying? I don't see the parallel between how they manage the team, to be able to have their robot withstand a load of 150 pounds. There's a disconnect there. So let me write that down. Do you guys see what I'm trying to say?
Well, you were asking what do you mean by scheduling performance. So I presume this is a programming thing. I figure yeah.
I didn't mean that. I meant the actions that they list here, like delegated tasks, controlled, schedule, managed communication. It doesn't match the result. Being able to withhold a load of 150 pounds. There's a disconnect between the actions they list and then the result.
I think there should be a period at the end of teams and just scratch the rest of it.
I see what they're trying to do. I see they're trying to fit a result.
I believe what they wanted to mention the objective of this this competition. The competition was I have a feeling the objective is just that your robot needs to ensure this particular load.
Yeah, so
But
maybe
I think he had a hard time like trying to put that objective in a coherent manner. So I think he just put it there just since it seems to flow better with the sentence, but
I think it fits better with
contextually,
the bullet point.
I mean, excuse me for being the devil's advocate, but who, like, no offense to this person, but who cares about the 150 pounds? Like, what is that? That has no context to me. I don't know how impressive that is because I don't know where they
if they
started.
did, that would probably belong in the interview. Because I know you I know I mentioned this a lot, that a lot of things should just be said in the interview. But from what I've been told, it seems as if the interview is there in which you could probably defend. Think of it as rather than than a defense. Yeah, think of it like a defense or a doctor's defense. Except you here, you're just defending your resume. That they'll go through your and that they'll go through your resume. They'll look at a bullet point and they'll like for you to elaborate. The employer will like for you to elaborate, and that's where you'll get the chance to explain. Yeah, this competition is meant for the objective of this competition is for your project to withstand this kind of load.
I agree.
In other
I
words,
think
it's
that-
usually up to
I was agreeing that that seems to be the implication here, is that there was a set requirement for them to have or to be able to withstand that load. But I think they can be more explicit about that, especially since they have more space in that line.
Well, I see what Emily was saying. I mean, the first part of the sentence has nothing to do with the last part of the sentence. The last part of the sentence, to be able to withhold 150 pounds, that's like a design thing. But the first part of the sentence, sorry, I
the
can't
last
see
part
it here.
should belong in the first bullet point.
Yeah, delegated task, controlled schedule performance, and managed communication. That has nothing to do with
Yeah.
design.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Let's leave it as it right there. And what does the third bullet point say?
Third bullet point says machined. Machine components from aluminum and stainless steel using manual machines, including lathe and mill. You don't need to say.
Cut cost.
Compared to what?
Yeah, I think if they wanted to leave those small cut cost numbers in, like, again, I like that they're trying to be quantitative. Maybe a percentage would be better than $120, right? If it was $120 of $240, that's pretty good. Do you agree that having 50% cut costs there would be more impressive than $120?
Not necessarily, because I don't really know what the original baseline is. You know what I'm trying to say? That's why I said compared to what? Because is that compared to purchasing the parts off the shelf? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, but at the same time, like, it doesn't matter if you save a penny on 2 pennies. If it's 50% cost savings and you're selling 1 billion of them, that's 50% cost savings.
However, perhaps it's really low percentage. Perhaps it's like 5%. Maybe the thing was super expensive. In that case, I would actually leave the 120 rather than say 5%.
Fair enough.
I might suggest that it be taken off simply because it seems to me like these are perhaps material costs. Like you keep suggesting maybe this is an alternative to purchasing something, but if you're doing this at your job, you have to consider the cost of your labor going into this. Because if you're paying someone to operate the lathe and the mill to save these material costs, you very easily, could have labor costs that match or exceed that saving.
That's very true. Labor costs is when you go and take your car in, the labor costs is 90% of what you pay. And then the actual parts that they change on your car is so small. Labor is super expensive. That's why, that's why Tesla's trying to make a freaking robot, right? Because people are expensive, especially when the minimum wage is $15.
I just think this is easy to overlook when you're a student. And,
Oh,
you know,
100%
you're
yes.
you're trying to save yourself a cost, certainly,
Yeah.
but if someone's paying you to do it, they don't want you to waste your time, you know, spending 2 days on something that they could spend $100 on and just have.
No, I totally hear you, Chase. I totally agree. I'm sure that if these students actually machined them themselves, I'm sure they factored in a $0 labor cost, you know, for them. You know, I needed to work on this project anyways. But I understand that they're trying to show a result. I kind of harp, I guess, a little bit on cause and effect, actions and results. And I think that's what they're trying to do here is to say, hey, we did this and it resulted in, you know, this cost going down. So I'm not going to necessarily say to remove it. If they take out the manual machines, including, then they'll be at one line. So I don't think they're wasting any space unless they, like, I guess, elaborate more on the compared to what thing, like compared to off the shelf parts or compared to purchase part or whatever. I think we're good for this. I think we got to move on. What time is it? Man, it's just flying by when we're having fun. All right, skills. Okay, does anybody know what's bothering me about the skill section? Can anybody guess? Maybe.
Sorry, say it again.
What did you say?
Yes, say it again.
Does anybody know? Can anybody guess what I think needs to change about their skill section? You
I
guys see
feel
the
like I'm
skills?
failing a pop quiz.
Pop quiz.
I'm not sure what's bothering you, but I know what's bothering me.
What's bothering you? Maybe it's bothering both of us.
How can you just claim to know MATLAB?
That's
You know
not
what I
bothering.
mean? Like, you could do literally anything on MATLAB. You could spend your entire life learning MATLAB, not learn every function.
You know, that's true about most softwares.
So I would at least give a decent idea of, you know, how much experience you have. Maybe advanced MATLAB program, or I don't know, some way to let them know how comfortable you are with the software.
So that's an interesting point. You're suggesting to sort of evaluate or your proficiency at the software. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, like on my resume, I have MATLAB on there, but I have, I think, maybe 4 or 5 bullet points of some advanced analysis I know how to do on MATLAB, and then I have, like, you know, intermediate to advanced, whereas Python I'm much weaker at, so I have that as beginner to intermediate, something like that. I don't know.
Okay, so in my opinion, I think that so this actually wasn't what was bothering me, but we can talk about it for sure. I think that providing a proficiency of on each of your items that you list in your skill section can really only hurt you. I think that once you get into an interview, then they test how well you know the software or whatever. I think that you can integrate your software skills into the rest of your resume and your bullet points, like use MATLAB to do this and this and this. And so if they read that bullet point, then they'll be like, oh, well, they at least know how to do this in MATLAB, right? But I personally do think if you say, like, we get Python, then, you know, that doesn't look great. But it also, I guess what am I trying to say? It also takes up more room to say your proficiency at each one. They have a lot of machines on there. That's okay. All right. Sorry, I got distracted. But so that's kind of my general thought process behind proficiencies. I see where you're coming from, that you want to communicate, hey, I know this like really, really well. And I know this like less well. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to be kind of docked or on the stuff that maybe you're not so good at. And I think that you can always integrate those software skills into your bullet points to kind of show how good you are with them or what you've done with them, stuff like that. So that's my personal opinion. I know that probably everyone's going to have something, different, but that's just what I think. So that's not what was bothering me, though. Any other guesses? Or any other thoughts on the proficiency thing? No.
I don't think that this is what's bothering you, but kind of on that same note,
Yeah.
CAD.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, hey. Pat myself on the back.
Great job. Chase, you win a gold star. Okay.
Hey, let's go.
So the reason that I don't like that they list CAD is because they list specific software and Python's a language, so it's not really software, I guess, for everything else. But for CAD, they don't list the specific software. And there is so many different types of CAD. It can be really helpful if you know the same CAD software that like the company uses. That's like a super huge plus. And if you know a different one, like, hey, I know NX and you guys use Creo, like they still know that, hey, that's a CAD software and they probably can pick up Creo pretty well. But, the real, happy days where, the stars align and the exact same software that the company uses, that works to your advantage, like big time. Because then they're like, we don't have to really train you as well on that one. So I'm going to ask this person to list which CAD software. Which? Because ANSYS is an FEA software. It can do other things, but they don't list like FEA. You know what I mean? They list CAD, kind of in that same vein. So that's what I was harping on, I guess, for this skill section. Machines are fine, I think. I probably would call it manufacturing instead of machines. But, tomato, tomato. In general, hands-on experience is decent. Laz loves it. If he's on, he's probably not. Okay, any other thoughts on skills, or should we move on?
I mean, also in the same sense, 3D printer. Like, what does that mean? There are a lot of different types of 3D printers and 3D print technologies. Is it an FDM printer? Is it an SLS printer? Is it stereolithography?
I'm guessing they probably have used like one of the off-the-shelf 3D printers. Or maybe the university has a really cool 3D printer. I don't know. What type? All right. If they've used a water jet and a laser cutter, that's pretty cool, honestly. All right, professional organizations. So I usually am like iffy about professional organizations. Let's see what I think. Oh no, yeah, I think I'm going to be iffy about this. Refined engineering skills and knowledge through collaboration in engineering projects. I hate it.
That means he had pizza at the meetings.
Yeah, I know. What projects?
So funny.
So usually this is actually like a step up of listing just ASME, this date to this date. Like they're actually bullet points here, but the bullet points don't tell me anything. Cultivated leadership by delegating tasks, leading project meetings. Like if they were leading the meeting, wouldn't they have like sort of a leadership role? Teaching students how to use manual machines safely and effectively. Like, yeah, I guess. I would probably cut that to one line though. At least. Yeah, I guess they're trying to show like their leadership experience there. What do you think?
Well, wouldn't they have named a leadership role? Like president, vice president, something?
Role? Question mark? Just if it's just member, then like honestly, I'd probably remove the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, if you're the president, that's something. But if you just paid the $25, kind of whatever.
Ooh, Evan, boo. Evan's not home yet. He went to happy hour. Boo. Okay, moving on. I went to happy hour too. All right. I do think that the person whose resume this is, they are lacking for leadership experience. I guess they say that they led the suspension team for the autonomous robot manufacturing lead, but that's like, I don't know how wishy-washy that is. So partnership for research and education and materials, is this better? Okay, it participated and led outreach events and educated over 400 of people on the importance of science in everyday life. Science, man. So I like people to be quantitative when they can. So how many events did you also participated and led is also two very different things. They probably maybe led like one or two and then participated in the rest. Mentored 15 high school freshmen from underrepresented communities on the difficulties and rewards pursuing a STEM degree. What do you guys think about that one?
I mean, it sounds nice, but is it worth a bullet point? I don't know.
It's like a 5-minute talk. Like,
Yeah. Mentored, I guess. Same with like participated in. Like, there's so many different levels. Like, you could have like, organized the entire event, or you could have like stood by and watched and then left like an hour early. You know what I mean? Mentored is questionable amount of involvement, I guess. You're right. It could just have been like a small talk, and that was it. But I don't know. Again, they're sort of kind of lacking in leadership, and I'm thinking that they're just adding this stuff in at the end to kind of fill that gap. Is that what your guys are getting? Because that's what I'm getting here. I don't like the difficulties and rewards. Maybe that's just me.
it's like get a check subscription. That's it.
Can I check the description? Man, throwing the knowledge down.
It works through sophomore year at least.
Thanks. I'm gonna write it out so that.
I kind of have a question for you, Emily. What do you feel? What are you getting from this resume? Is the audience? Do you think they're trying to get a co-op during their senior year?
Let's look. I'm a rising senior doing mechanical engineering. This is my first time posting code. Y'all give me some feedback. And that is what we have. I have no idea. Rising senior, maybe co-op for the final year. Maybe this is their like. No, that's not what I wanted. Maybe this is their final resume, and they will update it with their senior year stuff, and then use it to apply. Like once they get over once they finish their senior year. This is a starting point kind of for their, full-time applications.
I
But
can see your concerns with the word mentoring, but I feel like it's a very powerful one to allow the compromise because there are very few opportunities in life where you get to be given a very well description of like how to do things like quite explicitly. Like, in other words, get properly taught, right? So I can see it's nice that he put. I feel like he wanted to add some humanitarian contributions in this resume. To try to give it a little bit more pathos to it. I figured that's why he put it.
and I do appreciate that it's still like relevant to STEM. Like it's still kind of related. You know what I mean? It's not like him saving puppies in his free time, and there's actually like STEM involved somehow. But not to say saving puppies does not have any STEM involved, but probably less. Yeah, it feels.
It's always a sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, go ahead. It's always a tragedy to see a student, say, like aspiring STEM student, like give up on a career because they just don't understand a particular class or a particular concept.
Yeah.
Like either and a lot of times they'll demonstrate imposter syndrome.
Yep.
But too many times, I mean,
Does that
how
happen?
would I put it?
No, I'm about to take Calc 2. Please tell me it doesn't happen.
Katsu,
That's,
good luck.
Thanks.
let me say, I'll say this: no school is better than the professor.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
Okay. So
this is like that's why, like, just a little bit more emphasis on why it's how hard it is to be a good teacher. That's probably the point I'm trying to get to.
yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, but we don't know if this person is a good teacher just by
right.
you know what I mean? He could have been a terrible mentor. He could have been like, I hate my major. This is terrible. Never do it. You know, we wouldn't know that. You know, some people are like that.
I mean, you wouldn't disagree if he was a liberal artist, no, would he?
I mean, maybe, I don't know. But what not annoys me, what kind of puts me off about this professional organizations is it just seems very fluffy and heartfelt and like, what do I say, overly sugary. Like the importance of science in everyday life. Like, really? Maybe they could be a little bit more specific than, you know, the importance of science in everyday life. Because I don't know, if you do a presentation about science, you know, that's too big of a topic. It just seems very like flowery, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Are you
know,
posting this feedback on the Reddit?
I am not posting the video. I am posting this red line though.
Yeah.
Do you strictly just kind of type edit the resume, or do you give advice for moving forward as well?
I answer any questions anybody has.
Because if I was giving this guy advice, I would tell him that one thing he could do, or he or she could do, that would really make this look a lot better in my eyes would be to TA a class, maybe TA dynamics or something if they can. I don't know.
I think I might disagree on that because you can be a really crappy TA and still be a TA. I don't know. A lot of his experience or her experience is very academic already in like kind of the research realm. I don't know if that actually would help. That might actually be the weakest thing other than this professional organization section.
I think it depends where you apply. Some places put a huge emphasis on that kind of thing.
I put a higher emphasis on project and internships way over, you know, TA positions any day of the week.
I mean,
See,
are
I
you
just
two in-
I
are you
just
two in different
interviewed for
industries?
I just interviewed for semiconductor, and the thing they liked, I had a ton of industry experience, and the thing they liked the best on my resume was that I TA'd chemi thermo.
That's surprising for sure, unless your industry experience was irrelevant.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. They just seem to. They told me they specifically look for people who are teaching assistants, but that's anecdotal. Just
Okay.
That's the advice I would to this person.
Okay, no, that's valid. What major are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Chemical.
Okay. I guess I'm mechanical, so we're more, I guess, emphasis on projects and applying knowledge to real life experiences.
Of
I
a
don't know.
lot of the industries that are out there, semiconductor is pretty academic, though. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, I mean that could definitely be so. That could definitely be true. All right. So I think we've got through the whole thing. Overall, what do you guys think? Would you ask this person in for an interview? They are a rising senior. Don't forget that. They're not like graduated quite yet. So they still have their capstone project to do. What was your overall impression of this?
If it was for a co-op, for sure. I think if I was looking at this to hire somebody for 70,000, I wouldn't be so inclined.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's a little mean.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
No, we
true,
like
true, true,
honesty.
true. Nah, yeah, true.
This person is not in the room. You aren't hurting any feelings.
I'll
Anybody
say
else?
I agree. I agree.
Okay.
I mean, he
Yeah.
has.
You agree? You agree with what I said?
Yeah, with what you said, maybe I'm growing cynical, seeing better and improved resumes, but
That's
I'm
good.
just not impressed.
It feels like this person has a lot to say in the interview. He's just trying to put it in the resume.
I don't know. I think it could go either way. I could easily see this being someone who honestly doesn't have a lot to say, but is able to fill it out because they've done a bunch of things. It's just not all those things are necessarily relevant to a, I guess, real engineering position.
I think it all comes down to what job they want.
That is true.
I think that
Yeah,
if
maybe
they-
it'd be strong for battery.
yeah, I agree. I think if they want a mechanical design position, they will have a difficult time. But I do think if they want, if they're looking at more of an RD position, specifically for batteries or whatever this manufacturing amorphous metal alloys, I guess that's more of manufacturing processes. I think then it's stronger in those regards. But
It's weird because he had a lot of experience in what seems like chemical engineering in batteries, but it's all technically mechanics to some. Well, at least the one with Penn State, right? Like he's talking about like mechanisms of proton exchange. He's going through, I guess, uh, the mechanics of the conductivity. I guess no, maybe that kind of came off incorrect.
I try to
Yeah,
say, I agree. I was actually talking about this with somebody who's not on the call, probably Crazy Kemi. I don't remember. I think that's his username or her username. But
There definitely is a person called Crazy Kemi on the
Yes.
Discord.
we were debating whether like what the difference is between mechanical engineer and mechanical engineering coursework and chemical engineers and chemical
Oh no,
engineering.
that was me.
That was you?
Yeah.
Who
Hello,
are you? Oh
Calvin
yeah.
S. with the Rick
Yes,
picture.
you're here. Okay. Okay, then
Hey,
you know
let's
what I'm talking
go.
about.
Yes, I do.
what a
Thank you.
small world.
Wait, that was you. I can't
Anyways,
see.
what were you saying though?
We were just talking about this, about the difference between, chemi and mechie coursework.
Yeah, it's pretty close, especially the engineering classes themselves. Like we do other chemistry classes that mechis don't, but the actual engineering classes are really close.
Yeah, so I wonder if maybe they would be able to apply to those more chemi positions.
Well, look at Chase.
Yeah, Chase, you're the poster child here.
Yeah, I am. And my roommate was a mechanical engineer, and my best friends were mechanical engineers.
What
Uh,
is
You're just-
Chase do?
I think they could definitely leverage into a process engineering. Sorry about the.
It's all right.
What does Chase do?
I studied chemical engineering, but my experience
Gotcha.
has always been in mechanical engineering.
Gotcha. Tight.
And from what I've seen between my curriculum and mechanical curriculum, and the you know what I mean, at Auburn University, really they only start to diverge in terms of for
Gotcha.
mechanical engineers, machine design, and for chemical engineers, plant design.
Where
or
is
process.
that, by the way?
Auburn University is in Auburn, Alabama. It's right on the border between Alabama and Georgia, about in the middle of
Great,
Alabama.
The South. Let's go.
Where's your accent?
Chase.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you whip it out? Can you? No.
Accent, Chase, go.
Accent? No. All right. Well, the thing is I grew up in Northwest Florida, and long story short, I had a woman who grew up in South Africa, had spent the last decade in London, speak with me and tell me that I did not have an accent.
Interesting.
What?
You definitely don't have a southern accent, that's for sure.
Yeah. Dude.
Back to the coursework thing, Chase. You were forgetting about PChem, my friend.
PChem is pretty big, yeah.
All right, guys. Can I like ask questions now, or are we still doing?
Yeah, I think we're done. Do we?
Okay,
I don't know if
thank you.
Rowan's still recording,
Let's go.
but I think we're done.
Haven't you guys went to community college, by the way?
Nope.
No.
I technically did.
I did.
You did? All right, tight. In Southern California? No. How was it?
Not in Southern California, and to me, the community college gave me a better education than the university.
Ooh.
Smaller class size, right? No.
It's more about the
Let's say-
professors only having teaching to worry about and not being worried about pushing papers out.
Gotcha.
I kind of get that, but my experience was a little bit in the opposite direction in that while, yes, I think the professors were more enthusiastic to be teaching and were more reciprocal in that regard, the material itself was very different in terms of the depth and the difficulty.
Yeah.
You know, as sort of like a rough example, when I took general chemistry at my community college, I got like 112 on the final exam, giving me
Oh,
102 overall.
Yeah.
And then I went to Auburn, and they were like, "Hey, you should probably retake it." And I thought, "Easy A, sure, why not?" And then I got a C. It's like, oh no.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. Not just wondering. Cool.
It's very school dependent. It depends on your community college.
For sure. And also, like, just out of curiosity, have you guys had any experience with clubs in community college? No? Or do you know what SHIP is? Society of Hispanic Engineers? No?
Did I look at your resume?
My resume? No. I think you're
Oh.
in SoCal, no? Though? Right?
Yeah, I'm in Los
Nashville?
Angeles.
Dude, same. That's dope.
Dude, no one will meet up with me. If you want to meet up and chat for coffee or something,
I'm
let
down
me
with
know
whatever, dude.
because
Yeah,
I'm about to leave.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a message. But anyways,
Okay, cool.
thanks for helping a little Mexican boy try to make a better life. It's okay.
Oh my goodness. Wait, what area in LA are you from? Or you
I
live
grew up in El Sereno.
Okay.
Do you know where that is? No.
No,
Okay. Do you work at JPL, by the way?
I do not. I have done some work for GPL though.
Huh. But you're in the aero industry, so are you in El Segundo?
I am not really.
You're not in defense, right?
I am. So I worked for Northrop Grumman,
Yeah. So,
but
gotcha.
they recently sold off a chunk of their company,
Gotcha.
which I was included in.
Gotcha. What school did you go to?
I went to University of Maryland.
Oh shoot! What the heck? On the wrong coast, dude.
Yeah, so my husband got a job out here, so we moved across the country for his
What the
job.
heck? Right. Is
Yeah,
he
it was
engineering too, or no?
terrifying. What?
Is he an engineer too, or no?
Yes, he's electrical /
Hey,
computer.
tight. Let's go.
Red line of your resume. Let me know if you have any questions. So yeah, we are.
Oh, is this like a post you're responding to?
Yeah, I'm uploading the picture.
Gotcha. Sorry.
No worries. Wait, so you said that you were concerned about clubs?
I mean, anything,
in
dude.
college?
I don't know. First time college student here. I mean,
What year are
first
you?
family. I'm technically a sophomore my second semester. I only have
Okay.
I have 6 classes, but I have to take them sequentially. Well, with the
Okay.
exception of one. So I have Calc 2, Lit Algebra, and then Calc 3, and then physics 1, 2, and chem left.
Okay.
And then I plan on going to Cal State LA. I know, not that impressive, but it's fine.
Cal State LA.
Yeah, I don't. No shade to my Asian homies, but like, dude, you mentioned Cal State LA, Cal State to Asians, they just ignore you. I'm like, dude, lots of fobs.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I don't really know. I've never heard of that one before. All I hear is like Cal Poly.
Yeah, Cal
Yeah.
Poly is good. I can probably get into Cal Poly, but I don't want to. It takes an extra year, so.
Oh, okay. I got you. Any questions? Oh gosh, my handwriting was pretty bad today.
My handwriting? What? Oh, gotcha. You meant on the. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions, or are we good to end?
I think it's just us, dude. And
Oh,
How do you-
we're the
how do you
only
pronounce
people?
that?
Everybody else
Yeah.
left? What?
well, we're like, oh, we're from LA, and they're like, no one's from LA.
They're
And
like,
left.
bye.
Oh, it's guys.